Welcome everybody to this week's Property Natter with me, Nat Daniels from Angels Media, and I'm also joined today by Spencer Lawrence from Paramount Properties. He's going to speak to us a little bit about his business and what he's facing at the moment, some of the challenges out there. So welcome, Spencer.
Thank you so much for the invite. Much appreciated.
That's good. No, it's lovely to see you. So we had a little chat before, and I've got some questions that I want to ask you, but feel free to jump in wherever you like. But you've got one office, which, as I understand, it's more of a hub. You've been in the business, or you've been there 27 years. Fantastic. And quite a lot of people on the property management side. You do a bit of refurbishment. You've got quite a number of properties under management. So lettings is your bag. Is that right, Spencer?
It's been my whole career, our bag. So certainly a very interesting space, very fast moving. And I think the key thing for us is to try and blend what we're doing internally to ensure that that meets the ever-changing needs of our target market, of our audience.
Yeah, sure. Well, you've got, I believe, 1,200, as you said, properties under management. So there's a lot going on there, and a lot of work. One of the things that we discussed was removing the anxiety throughout the property being let for the landlord. Can you tell me a bit more about that, Spencer?
Sure. So a few years ago, I came up with the idea that there was a equilateral triangle. So you have property, owner, and resident, and a good agent should occupy the space in between.
Yeah.
What we found is that probably wasn't quite right. The reality is the resident, the tenant, wants very fast turnarounds for their day-to-day issues. And that becomes very difficult to predict from an asset management perspective. Where do you need resource? How many contractors do we need? How are we going to get more contractors if those contractors are really busy? If we go out onto reviews, when we come back, are we going to have the resource to deal with the next batch of problems coming in? So what we've done is worked with a company called PropCore, and we have outsourced our front-facing repetitive maintenance so that they have access to our system. They operate as we do. They've been to our office. We talk to them on a very regular basis, and they deal with all of our frontline inquiries. So we know we can get all of those residents much quicker. They put the works, and then we spend more time hanging around in the triangle with the owner and with the property. It means that we can look at the property from a maintenance roadmap perspective, rather than fixing the leaking tap and the washing machine that's on the blink or whatever else it might be. All very important things, but things that we didn't have enough time to deal with if we're going out to do lots of reviews, which we love doing, because that's where the magic happens when you're inside the property. When you come back at 4 o'clock and then you've got 10 things to deal with. From a asset management perspective, when we spoke to the team, they were feeling super anxious, concerned, worried, playing judge and jury. Who should we get to first? What can wait until tomorrow? And that became a bit of an issue for us, and we wouldn't have been able to scale the business if we carried on. And also from a staff team retention perspective, it would have been very difficult to keep the better people who are dealing with that frontline, never-ending sort of list of things that are going wrong. And if you've got, as you manage more properties, you have more problems coming in. So it was something we had to try and ring fence. And so far, the relationship with PropCore has served us very well. And we've been able to spend much more time client facing and getting into properties, which has been
that sounds great. So you're able to spend time with your landlords, client facing, as you say, looking after their needs rather than looking after the washing machine's needs at the moment. Yeah, so that makes sense. And I mean, it's a human business, isn't it? That's what we're in. We are in a human business, but there's obviously a lot going on in the tech side at the moment. So how do you see blending that human touch with tech that's available out there at the moment?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is, we want to hide nothing. So I think the viewer anticipates there being something that an agent is hiding on the advert, and they're only going to find that when they get there. So we decided that presenter-led videography via Holify was going to be the way that we approach this problem. So it means that the current resident isn't bugged for multiple viewings. It means that from a time perspective, the consultants can spend more time focusing on the property element and getting that right before we marketing. And also from an environmental perspective, we're not driving all around London on wasted viewings. So it's helped us in terms of our strike rate from people physically viewing the property to taking it. That's improved. We're about 1 in 3, and we're sitting about 7 days on market at the moment. So it's worked really well for us, and something that if that was taken away from us, I'm not sure how we got on with just photography and floor plans and, you know, moving photos in the past. But those presenter-led videos, they are room by room basis. So if you specifically wanted to check out a kitchen or a bathroom, you can go there first. So you're not wasting any time. So from an audience perspective, they are truly able to view 24/7, and then they can feed back to us if they would like to go, you know, and physically see it. And obviously they can watch it multiple times. And that was an unintended consequence of doing it. So, oh, I just want to check out the kitchen again, where you can jump back in and, you know, the presenter is showing you the warts and all scenario. So if there is a railway at the back and you're a sensitive sleeper, we will make comment on that. If it's top floor and it's tight for furniture, getting through the communal area, we'll mention that too. So the idea is we just want to make it much more fluid for the audience to make better decisions. And from an owner's perspective, we can market properties really well en masse, so people can watch them when they want to watch them, rather than that slot at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday, whatever it might be.
Yeah, it makes sense. And as we've said as well, probably take a bit of pressure off your staff who are looking after these clients. And in fact, on that, we mentioned also earlier about your staff and having pride in what they do. How do you see that with your staff, and how do you instill that within them?
I think it's a non-negotiable. The team must have pride in what they do, because I think in agency, you've mentioned it already, it's a people's business. But I think you can get a lot of agents in the room and ask them to pick up the phone and make a call, and perhaps they don't want to do that. They prefer to, you know, respond via email. So I just think having that real sense of individual and collective pride, it means that your audience is not only just going to have a good interaction, but they're going to go and talk to other people about it and say, you know, you need to go and check out those guys. You need to go and have a conversation with X. That was great. You know, the way the paperwork was handled, you know, everything was done online. You know, and I think what needs to happen is that process from the lister, let's say, all the way through to moving. Every moving part makes a difference to how that resident feels when they take the keys and first move in, and how the owner feels during the process. You might have a brilliant lister, someone who's going to take something on, but then if it is clunky in between and there's a lack of pride, or people are feeling I'm just recycling information, or my day is the same every day, I think people's energy levels drop, you know, the mental well-being drops, how they approach work drops. And I just think if you just keep yourself on the edge of, am I proud of myself? How am I feeling about this interaction? And I think you've got to make people feel special. And that's quite hard in this world, because if you go outside of our industry, our profession, people are being made to feel special all the time with different interaction, different apps, things are getting quicker, things are getting better. You know, people are impatient. And I think we need to wake up to the fact that we're behind the times. And, you know, it's up to us as an industry to improve. And if we want the next batch of quality agents to come and want to work in agency rather than leave in masses, we've got to make it more exciting. Well, what's the benchmark? You've got to be proud. You've got to be proud to be an agent, proud of what you're doing. And for every moving part, that means all the team members, all the platforms you're using to sort of mesh beautifully together as best you can get them. And that to be a want and desire, like a non-negotiable. It's as simple as that.
It's gonna that type of attitude as well is going to aid your team retention, and in fact I think that if they feel like that, they're going to want to stay, and you're going to be able to build, and your training, recruitment and training that you're putting into them, the time and effort, so it's going to aid your team retention, I would have thought.
That's for sure. And it also makes recruitment a lot easier, because you know, if you're asking these type of questions and some of the responses you get back, they're not aligned with our core values, then it probably just isn't for that individual, and that's fine. But it's pride in what you do, you know, that will come out in every interaction, how your body language is, how you write, your tone, you know, when you communicate, how you communicate, how they're going to remember how we make them feel.
Yeah.
And we have to make them feel special, really special, because otherwise we're just vanilla. We get forgotten. They're never going to pick the phone back up and speak to us. It would just be awash with everything else.
Yeah, that's
a huge opportunity to make a difference. If you know, and if we're saying this is all about repetitive business, then make sure you've done everything in your power to ensure that you've got every chance of them coming back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I say, that really helps team retention, and also reinforces the fact that we are in a people business. If you're there to make them feel special, that's the business that we're in. Okay, look, Spencer, just nearly finishing up, but before we do, I wanted to just ask your view and outlook on the market. I mean, it's very difficult to predict much further ahead, really, but in the sort of near future, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on landlords. A lot of landlords are selling up, higher interest rates, cost of living, that sort of thing, and not to mention the tax situation for all of them. But what's your view on the near term for landlords at the moment and the marketplace?
I think the near term is people need to move away from the fact that it's not okay for owners, landlords, just to be happy. They need to be happy and educated. So they're reading a lot of press at the moment, a lot of it hyper negative. Yeah. And they're making decisions based on that hyper negative press release. Well, actually, every individual's got a different set of circumstances. And our role as agents is to ascertain what they are. And we've had lots of situations where an owner will call up, I'm done, I've had enough, I've had my time, I'm selling up. And the question is quite simple. What are your plans? What are your great plans to do with the proceeds? I'm not sure. I haven't thought about that yet. Have you thought about capital gains tax? No, not really. What's your sort of medium to long-term plan with pensions? You know, and all of a sudden, you know, some people, of course, they're going to sell. But our role is not just to say, receive the information, or we'll pass it over to residential sales. And we've had lots of instances where people start the conversation, I'm going to sell, because I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm uneducated about this problem. And after a conversation of 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, thanks so much for your time. I feel really reassured now. I didn't get that quite right. I can see that doesn't quite apply to me, and I'm going to retain it. So I think rather than join the club of reading the negative press, pick up the phone, speak to each individual owner and see where they're at. Because some of them have been through cycles like this before, and it's just like, I'm good, I haven't got any gearing, there's no mortgage here, I'm happy as Larry, no problem. Others who are newer to the market, of course, need more hand-holding, but they don't know what their options are, what their alternatives are. And I think that's the fascinating piece, is we can join the club of negativity, or we can spread some positivity by having better conversations with people. Pick up the phone, and it's not blanket. You and me and someone else, we're all at different stages of our lives for whatever reason. Well, our job is to know what they are today and what they feel they might want tomorrow. Not literally tomorrow, but further down the track.
What's happening?
Yeah, it's just an exciting opportunity. And I just think the more negativity that comes out, it's like the bigger opportunity for the agents to put this right. We're supposed to be the ones who knows what's going on. Well, rather than what we're going to do now, this is all negative, this is no good, the world ends tomorrow. Pick up the phone, find out where the heads are of your client base, and you'll find the majority of them with a bit of common sense retain. And actually, we've got a high percentage of our owners who are looking to buy at the moment, because guess what? It's a good time to buy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, Spencer, you're very passionate about it, so I love that, and that comes across. So finally, given that you're so passionate about it, you said you've been in the business 27 years. You don't look old enough. You must have started when you were 10 or 5 or something. Well, what's your top couple of tips for someone coming into the business now?
Be very careful about the location of the agency I was working in. I'd like to know that area quite well. I think that's really important. If the area you're working is part of your DNA, it's something you can talk to, your audience about, because I can talk to you about a kitchen and bathroom, you know what they are, but you might not know what the area's like to live in, that lifestyle, the pros and the cons and the quirks, and that amazing gym and all the rest of it. I think that's important. And from a learning perspective, this is a journey, a big, long journey. Enjoy the journey. Don't rush into the destination. And from a sort of tactical position, if I was going into an office, I would take my time, absorb like a sponge all of those around me, take the best bits from everyone, because everyone will have fantastic bits to learn from. And then within your own framework, with your own language, with your own tone, slowly but surely adapt and improve to become the best agent you can be. And ultimately, to be an agent of excellence, you need to think like the customer.
Put yourself in their shoes. Okay, Spencer, that's fantastic. We'll end on that. Enjoy the journey, not the destination. So that's fantastic. Spencer Lawrence, Paramount Properties, thanks very much for your time.
Our pleasure. Thank you.